Good morning, everybody. As we prepare to start, I'm just going to ask that those far away come a little closer, if you will. I'd appreciate that. If I can ask again, those on the far side, move on in. Those at the back, move on forward, please. Just move on in. The reason for that is I just want to allow the speakers momentum moving forward. Easier to speak to a cluster of people than people all spread out. 1965, the Houghton Line reported as follows: "We can't quite decide if the world is growing worse or if the reporters are just working harder." Right, are we ready to go? Can't you hear? Is that better? Are they talking too much? I have it on good authority that the guys at the back are talking too much. Morning, everybody. Welcome back. It's lovely to see you. Yesterday, we arrived here and there were many strangers in the room. Arriving this morning, it is just lovely to be able to say hello to so many familiar faces. So if I can ask you just to wave the hand at me, I want to see that we're all on page. You're going to see a little bit of audience participation. I'm going to thank you. Okay. We've got some visitors in South Africa, and I just want to show you people how easy it is for strangers from different places, different cultures, to do something special. Okay. Now, I'd obviously hope for a resounding full room, but so be it. Councillor Becky, please come and give me a hand, will you? I did ask for some volunteers, but I think those volunteers have actually left the room at this stage. And if you haven't, I'm going to leave you right where you are so you don't worry too much. But this is South Africa, right? We've got a history. We've come places together. We've experienced things. We've learned things together. And there are things that draw us together as people. I'm going to try something. It might not be that great, but you know what? We're going to do it together. And because he's probably got a better voice than me, although he says not, I'm going to invite Becky closer. Becky, come closer. Hey, have we got our pitch right? Is that right? Is that right? Ron, you're the musician, the jazz. Is that about right? Is that like? You don't know where we're going, do you? All right, okay, Becky, let's do this. Sorry, must they stand up or can they sit?
No, they should stand.
Absolutely,
They should stand.
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay, just start.
Okay.
Shosholoza wezontaba stimela skumeza shosholoza kulezontaba stimela siphume South Africa. Wena uyabaleka kulezontaba stimela siphume South Africa.
Hey! Look, it's not often I'm going to get to do that again. The Chinese proverb says this: man who waits for roast duck to fly into mouth will wait a very long time. And laughed about taking initiative and using opportunity to draw people together. Welcome again to the Mbombela Economic Summit, Day 2. We've got a lovely and really exciting lineup. I'm going to get straight to things just by not really even having to welcome you, because you pretty much did that yourselves. But to all of you, a really good welcome again. The session is open. I do want to ask if you'll turn cell phones off, that'll be good. And also, yesterday a lady lost a cell phone. It's a Nokia. And please, if you'll just be very aware of a cell phone that might not have an owner, she would be really appreciative. You'll also remember that yesterday Avis started with a challenge. They've asked people to put business cards in the bowl. At this stage, they're only one of 50. There are only 50 cards in the bowl. So you really want to go put your card in the bowl. You remember that they've given complimentary transport, one of the top cars in their range, for a whole weekend over Easter. And you'll remember Dr. Mabunda stepped up to the challenge and in their peak time has given for two accommodation in the Kruger National Park. And there might be a few other surprises. So please, don't live with regrets later in that you might not have had a chance to enjoy that. The program this morning between 9 o'clock and 10:45 is that we will have two speakers, the first of which I am about to introduce. Sally Motsweni will address us on how to use the media in difficult times. Sally is employed at the SABC as acting group executive responsible for stakeholder relations and provinces. Sally's expertise lies in risk management, forensic audit, facilitation and training. Recently, she has found an appropriate niche in the managing of risk during the credit crunch. Sally, you're very welcome to join us. And if you'll put your warm hands together.
Good morning. I know, Mike, that I'm supposed to present on using media effectively, but yesterday, after having gone through the day and listened to exactly what the need of the summit is about, I then decided to tweak my presentation a bit and wanted to introduce to you a topic called digital terrestrial television. And I'm sure many of you are aware that as a country we are about to go digital. We would be switching off our analog signals as of 2015. And the Ministry of Communications with all the broadcasters have since then decided that the year 2012 is the year to launch digital broadcasting. I wanted to identify the opportunities, economic opportunities within that sphere, and hoping that as a province, as a municipality, we would then be able to latch on and get that economic drive going forward. So I trust that I wouldn't be too far off the mark. As a public broadcaster, we normally have a reach of about 18 million listeners and viewers. We've got 18 radio stations, of which 3 are commercial radio stations, and we have 3 television stations, of which 2 are public broadcasting service, and 1 is a commercial television station. And when we had a population overview or demographics and the political landscape of the province, we found that, as you can see there, and I'm sure yesterday with Matilda's presentation, she did indicate that the statistics that were used are as per the last census. And the current players in the province, in terms of the public broadcasting service, which is offered by the public broadcaster, and commercial, we only have 1 as a public broadcaster, and the other 3 are from what we normally term a competitor, and the other ones are the community radio stations, of which as a public broadcaster we've got a national mandate to help and develop community radio stations. And as you can see, there isn't a community television station, which is licensed to the municipality or licensed to the province. And this is an opportunity for us as a province or a municipality to approach ICASA and apply for a license. The footprint of the said broadcasters, it's within Mpumalanga, Limpopo, Northern KZN, parts of Northwest, Gauteng, Mozambique, and Swaziland. Even though in terms of our the Electronic Regulations Act, we are not allowed to zoom into other countries, but you cannot then contain a signal because our signal as a country is not encrypted. So we do have a reach to Mozambique and to Swaziland, which even gives it a better footprint for us as a municipality moving into the Maputo corridor, making sure that we attract and we'll have even far more reach. There are more listeners out there than we have in the province. The current new developments in digital broadcasting. First and foremost, digital broadcasting means having more platforms on the same bandwidth that used to be on an analog platform. On analog, we needed to set up towers through Centec, another state-owned entity. But through digital, we would get feeds through satellite, with the use of satellite. And the advantages would be to viewers and to listeners, it would be more choice, improved reception, better sound, and picture quality. So you can imagine that as an emerging business person wanting to put your product on air, whether through television or radio, you would now have a far bigger platform than you would have had with the 6 identified ones previously. And for many other broadcasters other than the public broadcaster, it would be better reach, easy access, and a diversified audience. So in the event that the province or the municipality wants to advertise itself, you are not only contained within the province or with your neighboring regions. Someone from Cape Town can have a reach and an understanding of what is it that you offer as a municipality. In terms of the public broadcasting mandate, our mandate is to educate, inform, and entertain. But through digital broadcasting, it will provide educational programming, both curriculum-based and informal, educational topics, ranging from social, political, and economical. On the information part, this will it will enrich the cultural heritage of the country, and will strive to offer a broad range of services targeting particularly children, women, youth, and the disabled. And on entertainment, we know that the Africa Cup of Nations is on, and as a public broadcaster, we said that we can only afford to broadcast only 8 games. But in the event that we launch in April successfully our digital platforms, we would have a sport-dedicated channel, which would be easily accessible. There are no monthly subscriptions. You would just have to pay your annual license fee, and you'd then be able to access the services. And the economic spin-offs of our mandate is a contribution to the knowledge economy, dedicated educational channel that will help and assist our learners. Currently, we have a program on SABC2 called Matrix, which we have statistical proof that it has improved the metric pass rate of this province. There will be an improved general understanding of the macroeconomy of the country. And contribution to the technological expansion is that there would be a set-top device, which is like your multi-choice or DSTV decoder. It will be compatible with cell phone technology, memory sticks, and internet modems, and can be effectively used to create a new television experience for viewers. We can also use this as a business tool in those areas where yesterday one of the conversations that we had was around the implementation of broadband or internet technology in the province and in the city. So you can imagine that moving forward with this set-top box and this device, you would have your learners being able to access internet whilst at home, being able to Google and use the search engines to do their homework. And as a business, you could then be able to access a bigger, better audience and customer base other than using your normal technology. We know that currently in South Africa there are more cell phones than radios, televisions, and taxis combined. And digital broadcasting will be changing lives for our next generation. There are more people with cellular telephones in this country than anywhere else in the world, especially when you look at the demographics and the state of unemployment. So as a municipality, you could be able to use that service to send out messaging around service delivery. In the event that there would be water cut-offs or electricity cut-offs, you would be able to send out a message to your residents and inform them that watch out between this hour and that hour, there would be better cut-off. Business would be able to plan better. And as we know that retail always suffers when such services are not there. When there is no water in a shopping mall, restaurants are unable to service, therefore they have to close shop, thus losing money. So if we use the necessary digital broadcasting messages that are there, we could have a better reach, better access, and inform and entertain at the same time. The job opportunities that have been identified by the country and the ministry, as well as us as a public broadcaster, is that the set-top box manufacturers would be employing a number of people in order to produce these set-top boxes, who would then check for compliance and distribution to retailers. So as the TUT team that is here, they could also look into, and the FET colleges, into introducing a digital course that would enable people to start learning how to put together, how to fix these digital set-top boxes. And retailers will have to employ more people and increase their sales force. Sell these set-top boxes, which would be priced at around 700 rand, and they would be subsidized by the government for the indigent. They may get them at around 200 rand. There is still a paper that would be presented on the approval of that. And the consumers will then need, this would be your after-sales service, would need someone who would come and install these set-top boxes in order to access signal. So you don't have to have someone standing on your rooftop trying to make sure that the Bunny Aerial gets the reception for you to listen to the news. And revenue generation, these interactive services can generate revenue by way of improved rate cuts, advertising, sponsorship, return path transactions. So instead of having all your big advertising companies residing in Johannesburg or Cape Town, you could have an opportunity as a province and as a city to establish your own within and create jobs, have your creative arts and culture individuals to come and start producing advertisements. There would be long-form advertising material which can be created to back up TV ads. This can be switched on and off the broadcasting stream as and when required. Then there would be compelling information service that can be used as the basis of advertising content in form of logos, images that would lead the viewer to more content while remaining on the same channel. We talked yesterday about marketing the showground, making sure that when there are events, everybody knows about it, there is participation, there is attendance. So this technology would be able to allow even the organizers to zoom in and invite individuals sitting at home, informing them that whilst you are sitting there, there is an event that is happening at the Botanical Gardens or the showgrounds. I've come to the end of my presentation. I know I still have a few minutes.
A warm hand, thank you very much. Thank you, Sally. I do appreciate that. It's really interesting and I think very appropriate in the Lowveld. We will see Sally in a couple of minutes again. There'll be a question and answer session. Yesterday, Matilda requested that businesses complete a business satisfaction survey. If I can ask, just businesses, not government and others. They are available hard copy in the front. If you could just make a note to do that, I'd appreciate that. And I know that Matilda would be really pleased with all the honest feedback that she gets. Sally, the good news about a shorter presentation is that we're right back on track. So I appreciate that in terms of time. It's now my pleasure to introduce to you Professor Ron Logan. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to have a look and read through, and please don't do it now. Ron will address us on the success and failures in tourism theme park development. Ron is the Executive Vice President of Walt Disney Entertainment, Emirates. At a glance at the various awards bestowed on him, one will see the respect that he commands in the industry and includes the Disney Legends Award. He's carried the responsibility for creating, casting and producing all live entertainment products for the Walt Disney Corporation throughout its worldwide operations. Ron has a passion for music, theatre, jazz and seeing people educated. The little known fact. Look, he's a very well-branded guy. You'll see I've got a little Disney Mugudi. He's got Disney underpants, and he was quite proud of that. And he nods in pride. Don't show us. He did, though, say the little-known fact, which he's not preparing to reveal, is the tattoo. If you'll put your hands together and welcome Ron Logan.
Stay right there a second. Here's shirt from Mark. How about Mark? Did he have a great voice or what? No, he can't go yet. If I were casting him right now, I would hire him as a cruise director. Does he look like a cruise director? Gorgeous guy, that great voice. With one problem. The singing voice. Not so good. But I could hire him as a talent scout because you found a great singing voice here, right? All right. Okay, you can sit down now. As far as the audition later, don't call us, we'll call you. It's an absolute pleasure to be here in your beautiful country. My first time here, our contingent from Rosen College, we're just blown away by the beauty, by the people, the reception we've gotten. I don't want to go home, but it's going to be hard to tell my wife that, I'm afraid. I've been a lot of places in the world, which Mickey Mouse took me, but no place exactly like this. You have something really special. You know, yesterday we talked about volunteerism and that kind of stuff in our session in tourism. And I sat and listened to everything you brought up, and I said, when I got up and finally said something, I said, you know, it's all the above. You have the ideas. You have the creativity. You have the cooperation. Nobody was nasty in our meeting. Everybody was nice to each other. Everybody was respectful of each other. That's what you have to have a successful theme park. You cannot build a theme park somewhere in the world where that does not happen. So do you have a fertile field? Absolutely. Now how big is that field? Who knows at this moment? So I'm going to talk about success, a little bit about failure, because I don't like to talk about the negative. I don't think it really teaches you very much. Mistakes do teach you. We always learn more from our mistakes than we do our successes. but I'm not going to talk about that too much today. You know, when I go give speeches, I usually take a contingent with me of dancing girls, musicians. I was telling Mr. Harris Rosen that one time I did a presentation of Michael Eisner. I was a little worried about it, a little nervous. I had Hercules bring me in his chariot. But I don't have that here. So instead of that, I want to ask you to watch a video. And it's kind of self-explanatory, but it'll set up what I'm going to talk to you about.
Imagination, artistry, magic.
Walt Disney Entertainment is the global family of entertainment professionals who create, produce, and present Disney live entertainment throughout the world. From magical theme parks to spectacular special events to the high seas, the mission of Walt Disney Entertainment is to bring to life the stories, characters, music, and spectacle that are the legacies and the future of the Walt Disney Company.
Awe, surprise, thrills, joy, love.
Our goal is to create each show, parade, and event to be highly entertaining, to achieve defined objectives, and to contribute to the success of our business. We strive to combine technical wizardry, creative expertise, strategic thinking, and quality performance to deliver guest experiences that consistently exceed expectations.
Transcending language and diverse cultures.
Transforming what we cherish in our hearts into captivating, real-life, three-dimensional experiences shared by millions of people.
Magic, wonder.
Enchanting passengers aboard magnificent ships of adventure, romance, and escape.
Shaping imagination into reality through creativity and artistry.
As the Walt Disney Company has expanded into new markets around the world, live entertainment has become one of our most important assets. From the first character appearance at Disneyland in 1955, our entertainment has grown to include over 5,000 performers, performing to over 60 million people on 6 continents each year.
Opportunity, partnering, synergy.
We create an environment where ideas can flourish. Learning from one another, we weave a rich tapestry, combining experience, talent, and knowledge that is unparalleled in the industry. Working together, we blend innovation with invention, creating new landscapes of imagination for all of us to explore, and in which each guest finds his or her own unique magic. Walt Disney Entertainment. The power of worldwide synergistic relationships. The marriage of art and technology, a commitment to Disney excellence, and a fundamental understanding of how we best support and advance the success of our company. Creativity, expertise, innovation, imagination, artistry. Walt Disney Entertainment, part of the magic of the Walt Disney Company.
Thank you. Looks like fun. Let's just go do that. This takes a lot of hard work. You know, to do things that's spontaneous, you can't do it spontaneously. You have to work. You have to study. You have to be smart. You have to understand education. You know, Walt Disney had a term he called edutainment. It's all about entertainment, but teaching at the same time. It's very possible. You know, when I look at this, my life kind of passes before my eyes, you know, and I read that cockamamie resume that we have, and I go, boy, am I tired. But like the Legends Award, that was a topper for me. And I come home and with my wife, and she says, she puts it in perspective, I think you're a legend in your own mind. But it is in perspective because I was very lucky, I've been very lucky to be in a business where you can wake up every day going to see people who are paying a lot of money to have a good time. All they do is expect a good time. It's a great environment to live in. You know, I teach at Rosen College. I teach a class called Theme Park and Attraction Management and a class I call Entertainment Arts, which I define as arts that make money. Like the arts and crafts we saw yesterday or in your catalog. That's arts that make money. You know, a lot of the arts organizations in the world are always looking for handouts. And I say, hey, wait a minute, why don't you do something the public wants and you don't need a handout? So arts that make money. And we have a ball at Rosen College in doing that because the students are just like you. I have some 375 students a week. They're just like you. How do I do that? How do I get a job doing that? What's that all about? We know the fun part, but what's behind the curtain? You know, what's the secret behind the whole thing? And that's what I'm going to talk about a little bit today. That represents what you saw there. Work in 11 theme parks. I opened 11 theme parks. Oh, my God. I worked at Disneyland in 1958 as a college student as a trumpet player in the Toy Soldier Band. That was 3 years after Disneyland opened. I met Walt Disney 4 times in my life. I was inspired. He was just an amazing guy who was just a very simple human being in a lot of ways, but very inspirational and very friendly to creative people. It was no secret that he was going to be a success even years ago. When it comes to producing live entertainment, which I did, you have to use common sense. I always had common sense in my heart. If I didn't like it, I didn't do it. I had to feel something. You know, in the world we live in today with the economy the way it is, and keep me straight here, Mr. Rosen, but my understanding is this fall at Christmas time, you could not get a hotel room in Orlando. Every theme park closed every day. We had crowds that were unbelievable in one of the worst years in our history in America. So what's the reason for that? Quality, value, things I'm going to talk about today. I'm talking about Disney primarily because that's my background, but I am going to pick on somebody later on in my presentation because I do have a failure, but I take some responsibility for it because the team that did it, one of the owners was one of my employees that evidently when he worked for Disney, I didn't train him very well. And I'll get into that later. Disney theme parks deal with fantasy, escapism, light over darkness, good over evil. Theming in a Disney theme park can be defined as environmental storytelling. Walt Disney was all about story. Any show I ever created, from anything, from a character greeting to a major stage show, had to have a story. When I went to Michael Eisner to do presentations, what we wanted to do, I had to have that story in 3 paragraphs on 1 page, or he would refuse to see it. Your project may cost a lot of money, but that 1 page better be good. So what's the story? The story has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and at the end of our story, you have to feel good. Usually, our theme parks are targeted toward a family audience. Sometimes they veer a little bit from that, and when we do veer a little bit from that, we get into trouble, because we are known as a family brand. I'll talk about brand in detail here in a minute. Most Disney theme parks are part of what we call destination resorts. We have hotels, shopping, built with an appropriate capacity in your theme park to meet demand. You don't want to build your theme park too small, because it's too crowded. You don't want to build it too big either. So it's got to be appropriate. It's all about rides, attractions, both thrill and non-thrill. We had to learn that in a Disney company. In the beginning, there were no thrill rides at Disneyland. You know, the Matterhorn was nothing but a bobsled ride. Now, you can go on the Matterhorn today at Disneyland and you just get a sore rear end. There's no thrill. You just ride through and see a story. So we learned we had to do thrill too, but we did it a different way. We just didn't put a roller coaster out there. With the roller coaster inside a story. So you go to Space Mountain, a story about Space Mountain. Or Expedition Everest at the Animal Kingdom. Story. Story. It's about food of value. I suffered, as well as most people that went to the Disney parks in the early days, when our food really sucked. Sometimes it still does. I hope that's a good word here in South Africa, but we have that term in the United States. Everybody knows what sucks means, you know. It's not so good. Well, that's not value. Food and beverage, merchandise. I have a pet peeve about Disney today, and I talk about that often. All our shops have the same stuff in it. They need to be unique. You need to make sure that when you merchandise, you have enough different kinds of things. Otherwise, you don't buy. Live entertainment. Boy, do I believe in that. From the very beginning, Walt believed in that. Live entertainment is important. And live entertainment became the great hope in producing new things very quickly. We had a group in Disney called Walt Disney Imagineering that builds all the rides and attractions. If you build a ride and attraction, that might take 1 or 2 years to produce. Whereas live entertainment, I can go in 2 months and produce a show. If that show doesn't work, I can leave. So live entertainment became a major asset with the company, and when my career kind of took off, it was because of that. Everybody wanted us to do shows because it was a less expensive way to do it. And what do you have in South Africa that I know about, having not been here before, is your show. My gosh, you're known all over the world. The troops that you send around, I see the videos of the tribal customs and the dancing. You know, there were drummers at our hotel last night. You know about show. That's easy. All you have to do is just adapt it to what a theme park would require with shows. Our theme parks are places where we call our audience, our guests. That makes a difference. If you're a guest, you're a different kind of audience. We call our employees, our cast members. They're not just people that come to work and get an hourly wage and go home. They come and they play a role. They buy into the story. They help you sell that story. And I have a term I use for our characters. I call them the citizens of our story. Mickey Mouse and the gang. We have about 300 characters at any one time because we keep getting new characters all the time. But we kind of put a few on retirement from time to time because it's important that we don't have too many characters because the operators don't want to have to pay for all those costumes. I would bet we in the Disney World have 4,000 Mickey Mouse costumes. Out there, every single person, Mickey Mouse at that moment in that place is one person. But you have to have those costumes. And it's just like all of us that dressed up for this meeting. You got to look good every day. Mickey also demands, because he's our boss, that we do that. We consider our theme parks, and are we 100% all the time? The answer is no. But we work at it. A place of quality, a valued experience. Clean, safe, all about service excellence. A place that gives the guest what they expect, that strives to exceed that expectation. I've heard that discussed many times in many presentations in here. If you walk away with one thing, walk away with that. Give the guest what they want and expect, but exceed their expectation. Make them want to come back the next time. A successful theme park is at a place where locals and tourists are willing to travel to, usually near major highways and airports. A theme park on an island would never work. Never work. You know, I challenge my students to come, right now they're working on theme park ideas in my classes. I said, well, okay, put the first theme park on the moon. How are you going to get there? Well, I said, don't worry about that yet. Come up with a good idea and we'll figure it out. You know, because there will be a theme park on the moon. Dr. Bazam here really believes in space tourism. He's one of the proponents of that. What is the next step in tourism? Outer space. It's not that far away. It's usually, a successful theme park in the world is usually in a place with a temperate climate. What's your climate? Why is it important to have a temperate climate? So your seasonality is much longer. Put a theme park in Iceland, you might have a problem. Or Nome, Alaska. Well, you could still do it, but might have a problem. You need a theme park in a place that's supported by local and national government. And boy, what have I learned from Matilda, the gang that's visited us. Very, very, very supportive. And the word probably isn't supportive. The word is, let's go. Because you need that. You need to have incentives. You need to have partnerships in regard to roads. All the things that I've heard in here of improving things like, and other things in our meeting on tourism. Somebody brought up the idea that we need to fix the education. We need to fix the foundation we're going to build on here as well as building this new thing. And I think any good government's going to want to do that. Any good educator's going to want to do that. It just makes sense, doesn't it? The more you can do for the people, the more the people are going to do for each other. Well, you have to have that too. A place with both short-range and long-range strategic plans. And a place that makes money. You know, we don't talk about money until the last minute. But if you don't make money, you're not going to have a theme park. Although, Walt Disney did not build a theme park to make money. He built it to have an environment where he could take his kids. He'd go to amusement parks. They were dirty. He didn't trust the rides. He'd see two-headed dogs. The fat lady. There's always a lady, the bearded lady, the fat lady, or whatever. I'm sorry about that, Matilda. But he didn't like that. He wanted to build a place. Matter of fact, he hopped his family to build that place. He had to bring in partners to help him build it. Because it was all about quality, value, safe place to be. I have always had the feeling if you provide the guests what they want, they will support you. If you have a business nobody goes to, there's something wrong with your business. It's usually the service. It's usually the way they're treated. So strategic plans, very, very important. So how do you get there? How do you start? First of all, you start by doing things like you're doing here with these forums. You start by asking people who are willing to tell you. A lot of times they're not willing to tell you. At the Disney company for a while, we were told never to go talk to anybody because we don't want them to know our secrets. There's no secret. It's human nature. It's simple. But you bring people in who have been there, who have done it, who fought those fights. Because then you can take a quicker step toward your goal. You don't have to make the same mistakes. You learn from somebody else. And by the way, and I'll just pick on a few of my friends here, it's not just by hiring consultants. You know, consultants are consultants. I'm a consultant too. Whether or not whatever you're working on works is whether you want to do what the consultant says. And there's that old joke in the U.S. where the consultant walks out the room and said, hey, they actually think we're going to do this. You know? But you need to have that. You need to be educated. You need to travel. You need to experience. By us coming here, by we coming here, I'm sorry about my English here. Is that right? By we coming here. Is that right, Matilda? You don't know. All right. Now we know more about you. If you ask me a question about what I think, I have a better idea of what to say because we know more about where you're coming from. And I've enjoyed watching all the different sessions to learn about how you market, what you're looking at in this new century of ours. All these different things. Because we don't hear a lot about you in the United States. You know, and it really amazes me that we don't. In some ways, I'm glad I didn't, because now I was able to form my own opinion. So you have to start by planning, 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 before you start down the road. Don't start down the road without a great plan, strategically, immediate, and long range. We had a thing that we call at Disney the Disney Decade. We planned 10 years in advance of what we're going to produce. I had things to produce that I knew we were going to have open 10 years from now that I had to start working on. The other thing you have to have is an extensive, conservative, third party, not you, traditional feasibility study, which in my opinion must also include these days the effect of the brand. Now I have people argue with me about that and say feasibility studies should have nothing to do with the brand. I don't agree with that. If Disney announces they're going somewhere, that brand has an influence on the feasibility of that project working. If Coca-Cola says they're going into a country, that product's brand has an influence on the feasibility and success of that. So I believe that has to happen. You can go two ways in regard to brand, two approaches. One is to go to somebody that exists, like a Disney, a Universal, Warner Brothers, Paramount. You know, Jeffrey Katzenberg in DreamWorks is even getting into the theme park business. Although I don't think his brand's going to work. Because his brand is about, what is this, irreverent comedy is Jeffrey's brand. That's not family. That doesn't mean I don't like Shrek, but I don't want irreverent anything. That's his brand, which really surprises me. So you can go to them and say, come in and do your thing, adapt it to our area. Actually, that's what happened with Disney. You had Disneyland, which begat Disney World. We had to adjust the brand, size. Florida, adjust the brand. From there, we went to Tokyo, which we did not want to do, and Walt did not want to do, but we did. Most successful theme park in the entire world. Really had to adjust the brand there, even though they did not want, the Japanese did not want the brand adjusted at all. They wanted Disneyland moved to Japan. I used to have to fight the Japanese in allowing me to use the Japanese language in my shows, because all they wanted was English. So you adapt the brand. Then we went to Euro Disney. We're now Disneyland Paris. And then Hong Kong. And then I retired. So you have to do that. The other thing you can do, which I think if you go anywhere a step forward in regard to what you're talking about here, is develop your own brand, your own unique brand. You don't want an American Disney here. They can get it anywhere. They can go to Paris, see it, go to Japan, see it, you know. Yeah, it might be the South African version, but my gosh, you have an opportunity here for a unique brand. And as I look at South Africa and Africa as a whole, because I do read about it all the time, about the emerging culture, the emerging continent, of the opportunity you have in the future. that you have your own brand. And the world will be watching. You know that. They'll be watching. All right. In this issue, you need to do extensive marketing. And Ms. Matswini, close, she's very important to you. How do you market? How do you get to people? Today it's a whole different way. I would have a very difficult life these days to do that, because I don't tweet and Twitter and Facebook and all that stuff. I have somebody that does for me, but I have no idea how to do any of that stuff. But you do. Look what happened in the Middle East with all of that, the effect on that. You need to embrace that. So, regional brands, Disney has not really been that successful with either. And I point toward theme parks that we built, California Adventure in Los Angeles, Epcot, Disney MGM Studios, and Animal Kingdom in Florida, Studio Park in Paris, not as successful as the Magic Kingdoms. In my opinion, it's because our audiences want classic Disney. It's nice to have that as an alternative, but the number one park is that. When you go to Florida, they say, I'm going to Disney World, and then I go to Epcot, Studios, and so forth, rather than saying the Magic Kingdom. So our brand, we know, is the classic brand. And there's a reason for that, I think, and I think it's because Walt was smart in doing his movies. Every 7 years, he would reissue a movie. That movie then would be known as a classic brand to the new generation. So you saw Bambi again and again and again, and it grew that classic brand. In the very beginning, there were only 7 characters, the classic 7. Now there's tons of them. You almost forget who they are. So I think the classic thing is the way it goes for us. In regard to developing your brand, that's something you'd have to think about in regard to that. Now let me talk a few seconds about a failed theme park. It's a Hard Rock theme park which opened in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina on April 15, 2008, closed September 24, 2008, was refinanced May 23, 2009, closed again fall 2009. 55 acres of a 140-acre property. I was invited to the opening again because one of my ex-employees said, you got to come up and see this great thing we've done. So I came up and I started through the process of visiting the park, and I went, oh boy. Oh boy. Now, how about the brand? Hard Rock brand is a very known brand, right? Everybody in the world knows the brand Hard Rock, primarily because of Hard Rock Cafe. The original brand for Hard Rock Cafe was sex, drugs, rock and roll. Now, through the years, they dropped off the sex and drugs part and have rock and roll. So Hard Rock Cafes, like a Universal in Florida, is about rock and roll. A very good friend of mine ran that company and really promoted that concept. If you go to the casino near Tampa, it's about rock and roll. It's about the rock and roll era people who go there. That's who they market to. So rock and roll. They had a great review when they opened with somebody in London Times, I don't know who it was, that says, awesome review. America's newest theme park brought the genre from the preschool plastic of Disney, to a new age of insubordinate adolescence through a combination of nerdy attention to detail, startling irreverence, and sly wit. Is that good? Point is here, there was nothing wrong with the idea of the Hard Rock brand, if that's what you want to do, but build it in Las Vegas. Don't build it in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. You go to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina right now, it's what we call the center of our Bible Belt, conservative Christians. The hit shows in Myrtle Beach, before this park tried to open, is Dolly Parton's dinner show and Medieval Times. Family experience, had to do with history, horses, fun stuff. So here you have this rock and roll place opening. Wrong place for it. The problem was the feasibility study was flawed. Everybody wanted to do it. They had the money, they had the support, my understanding was supported by a group in London that had nothing to do. They never saw the presentations. Here, take our money and go do it. Hard Rock's a great name. They didn't look after it. The only people that go to Myrtle Beach traditionally are those who go play golf, mainly in the summertime, or go to the beach. Irreverence, sly wit does not fit. Period. Also, here are other things I picked up on. I didn't tell my friend until the last hour of the last night when he said, "So what do you think?" And here's what I said. The rides and attractions are too adult-oriented, because they were advertising it as a family experience. They had great roller coaster rides, but the kids couldn't ride them. They weren't old enough. They weren't tall enough. They had cheap carnival games nobody could win. The shows were too sexy. You had girls in bikinis all over the place. Now, I liked that, but, you know. The park music didn't fit. It was rock and roll. First of all, an 8-year-old doesn't even know what rock and roll is. Too adult for the family. The only sit-down restaurant was gourmet food, which was too expensive for any family. One of the things that are very important to Disney parks are characters. Well, they were starting out in this program, and they had 3. And they were bears. They weren't cuddly bears. They were snarling bears. Like, I remember watching a family where the guy says, "Go hug the bear." And the kid says, "I'm not going over there. Because you got this." Now, my ex-employee says, "Isn't that cool?" I said, "What's cool about that? What's cool about that?" The concept could have worked someplace else. It'll never be anyplace else because it's got failure written all over it. So again, an unbiased, intelligent, conservative, detailed feasibility study is extremely important, and you've got to do it with no emotion. You've got to realistically evaluate it, make a decision based upon reality, hard facts, and hard principle. In conclusion, there are a couple of things I think any development of theme parks in the future have to consider. Special considerations, I call them. The increasing importance of children as consumers. Kids today, because of us, have a lot of money to spend. Their stuff costs a lot of money. I have 6 grandsons. You know, you should be able to buy them a hat or something. My gosh, now you're buying, you know, have to take a loan to do Christmas for my grandsons. So they're very important to consider. Also, an increasingly diverse mobile worldwide population. The people that are going to visit your theme park are coming from very different places. Especially if you create something new the world's going to be interested to go to, you've got to make sure you embrace that. Understand that. Really know about that. You've got to really consider cultural, political, currency value concerns. Value of the dollars. That's got to be considered. And you've got to look into your crystal ball and say, what do we think that's going to be in 5 years? Because if you start right now, it's going to take you 3 to 5 years to build anything, if you can do it in that time. And then one last thing, is something I know nothing about, but I know the effect. That's the phenomena of today's social networking. It's a thing where I could see shows done in the future where you come in, when you come in, you tweet her, you say, this is a show ending I want on your show. Here's who I want in the parade. You can vote. I want Mickey, I want Donald, I want Chip and Dale. You can vote. And we would be able to do a show that would be that flexible. So I thank you very much for your kind attention. I wish you luck as you go forward. Again, I see fertile ground every place I look. But on the other hand, I'm kind of an optimist, so I apologize for that in advance. Thank you very much.
Ron, thank you very much. Remember the quote of yesterday? Discovery consists of seeing what everybody has seen and thinking what nobody has thought. It's wonderful. Sally, will you join us, please? We're going to go into a process of questions and answers. We've got microphones in the front, and I have organized some... thanks for that. Some carriers of microphones. Having seen what worked better yesterday, we're going to take a range of questions. You'll just see the hands. The ladies with the microphones will go to you. If you'll stand up, identify yourself. Identify the person for whom the question is to be directed, and then give the question, if you would. Right, we can start. Right, somebody in the front here, somebody over there. Zelda, I've got some people over here. Right, can we start? Thank you.
Good morning. My name's James Wanjala. I'm from DS Architects. My question is directed to Professor Logan. It's more on when dealing with theme parks, the transition phases from idea into place. Because as architects, we're used to the traditional. You are given an idea and you convert it into built form. But with theme parks, it's more of the story, the concept, and the ideas. And do you use the traditional form of just, how do you transform the ideas into space and built form? Do you use a traditional architectural way, or should we change our thinking into more of like, the way they produce movies and cartoons? The ideas are transformed into different stages of sketches, like this is the scene, or that is the scene. How do you transcend that?
Okay.
Have you got that question?
Yeah.
Right. Can we have some more, please? Thank you.
John Davies, travel planner for Prof. Logan. Prof. Logan inspires us with this beautiful Disney World. I've been to 3 myself, so I appreciate everything that was said. I also went to Euro Disney when it first opened and watched them stutter, or saw that they were stuttering. And the caution that Prof. Logan brings in is a very real thing, that if we're looking at a theme park, we need real serious people to look at it. Because perhaps if we bring this to life too early, we'll destroy it. So we need to be careful that the star we're reaching out for, how many years away is it truly? And what is the economic impact on that? So thank you.
Thank you very much. Just some more hands there. I'm looking for questions for Sally regarding communication as well. Thank you. I'm ready with you, lady at the back. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Samantha Bower from Swanee University. I also have a question for Professor Logan. You mentioned when you take the Disney concept overseas, you have to adapt the brand. But can I just ask, when you took it to Paris, how did you adapt the brand for the French? I'm just coming from the cultural differences between the French and American, for example, are very different. So I'm interested to see whether you adapted the brand in any way. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions? Thank you. Can I have a mic in the front? Can I see some more hands just so I know what I'm looking at? No questions about communication, South Africa, digital media, mass communication? Thank you.
Thank you. Arnold Lamin from Babani City Council. Question directed to Professor. What was the success or the possibility of a successful theme park in a destination where domestic tourism is very minimal, considering the fact that the successful theme parks has vibrant domestic tourism?
Can you summarize that for me, nice and short? Sorry, just hold. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Pazamisa Mate from Bombela Local Municipality. My question is directed to Suli of the SAPC. So as we have been listening to Prof. Ron Logan in terms of the way in which the people of South Africa behaved when they arrived here in South Africa, vis-a-vis what is, depicted in the SAPC in terms of South Africa itself internationally. I think somehow there are things of which we have learned today, that people from America, they are doing things the way in which we are telling them to do. Because when they come in South Africa and see the situation and the way in which we behave when they come here, it is totally different to what the SAPC is predicting. So my question to Suli is in terms of information dissemination and in terms of information management, basically in terms of the networks of which has been introduced, especially the Twitters and the Facebook. Do you have any regulations to regulate those? Because as I'm speaking currently, the way in which the Twitter is being abused and the Facebook in South Africa, whereby it does not address the economic situation of our country and it does not build the young people in our country. Because when you open the Twitter, the Facebook, you will hear about people who are divorcing and all stuff like that. Things of which are not assisting the development of the economy of our country per se.
Thank you.
And also the last question.
Thank you.
The last one is in terms of the issue of pornography. How is the SAPC going to regulate that? Because currently there are companies which are applying pornography stations in this country. So these are the things of which I wanted to know. How are you going to deal with that? Because that does not address the economic situation of our country. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I've got that one. What we will do... No, that's good. I think it's good to ask strong questions. Of course, Sully, in a gentle way, will answer them and maybe allude to the slightly broader responsibilities that they see. That'd be good. I'll take one more and then we'll start. Thank you.
Hi, it's Yats Gopal, and this is to Sully.
Thank you, everybody.
I don't know, we know, but today was the first day, I think in 1912, 1926, when the television was first tested and invented. So it's appropriate that you tell us about moving to the digital way. I don't know what it was then, really. But in terms of regional broadcasting, would you see that there's a potential of probably Bombela itself being located and having the access to the Kruger National Park and all the other facilities in terms of historical sites and what have you, partnering with someone like the National Geographical Society as a co-sponsor and probably broadcasting out of this place, adding value to the whole concept and advertising more broadly than just here?
Thank you very much. Within that question, possibly, Sully, you could just give your thoughts on the economical viability. I know that we've got a local radio station, they battle, and this would certainly be a new initiative. And how practically could that happen? Right, we're going to close the questions if we can. Ron, can I ask you to start?
The question in regard to the process of going from an idea to fruition, which I call the creative process. Anytime you build anything, you have to try to figure out what the story again, as I mentioned, and then you have to address that. What are the ingredients of the story? If it's in a particular location, what are the ingredients of that? What are the demographics? What are people being paid, etc. It has to do with the combination of the feasibility study being your foundation based on the criteria, but then being creative with it. We are very good at being creative. I call it an idea on a napkin. Ideas don't cost a lot of money. You all have ideas. If you have an idea today, there's a napkin here somewhere. You can write on it. You take that idea and go do something with it. You have to get creative people who know how to take an idea and to take it somewhere. You have to have goals in mind. You have to have milestones in mind. Just like any business. If you start in any business, you're going to say, how am I going to start? How am I going to be successful? How am I going to market? What's the brand? All these kind of things. How am I going to get the supply that I need? Like in my case, it was how am I going to find the talent that I need? You know, the world changed for me many times. I remember when the Cold War ended in Russia, because I was booking talent primarily out of Australia and the United States for Tokyo. Very expensive. Because in Japan, because they wanted a Disneyland, and because we require any of our face characters to look like they do in the movies, we do not have a Japanese Snow White. So we would just have to send somebody who looked like Snow White. And you can find them in Australia. But we did our first audition, I remember, in Moscow. And performers were getting $35 a week, or $35 a month, excuse me. We were paying $350 a month. We had 900 people show up for 40 spots. So the world itself can change itself to provide you what you need to have. Disney at this current time has people auditioning all over the world all the time to do that. So it's a process you do. It's like building any business. It's like expanding any business. You have to have creative people who have the ideas, but you also have to have business people who know how to herd those people together at times, but let them get out of control, but don't stifle their creativity, and then build the brand. We had a term that we always use, and I still use it today. It's kind of fun to do the impossible. Anytime anybody would throw hurdles in front of me, I got even more excited because I knew those hurdles were going to make me go some other direction, or I'm going to come up with some better idea. Most of the times our shows were better if they weren't easy to do. If they're easy to do, they don't become good enough. So it's a process you go through. It's a business process, but you have to have the creative thing alive in it. It's like a beating heart in your body. Your hand does this and all that, but without our heart, it's not going to get there. In regard to the second question, well, I just wrote down here, theme park, themed experience. One of the things I want to be careful about, because when Matilda and the gang came over and saw us, my first thought was, theme park, You realize even a mini theme park would cost you somewhere between $500 million and $1 billion. Disney's building a theme park in Shanghai right now that's going to be 2.5, probably before they're done, $3 billion. Do you really want to do that? On the other hand, a mini theme park could work, but how about a themed experience? It doesn't have to be, to me, you know, as long as it's a house with a bathroom, a kitchen, and a bedroom, it's still a house. It doesn't have to be a 10-bedroom house. It could be a 1-bedroom house. It has to be appropriate. A theme park has story. A theme park has heart. A theme park has characters. It has life, all these things that I talked about here. But it does not have to be gargantuan. It doesn't have to be 27,400 acres like Disney World. Probably anything less than 55 is not going to work because you have to have the infrastructure and all that kind of stuff. So I would appeal to you to think about theming, and in theming you can bring together as a magnet all the wonderful things you have. Kruger Park, the caves I went into, you know, the botanical gardens, all that kind of stuff. That's all part of, in my idea, the theming of this place, of what this makes this place what it is. So you just tie that together. I worked many times around the world with that concept. I worked on a concept in Beijing where they had 6 different things they wanted to tie together, and they were like 5 miles apart from each other. We still managed to do it. Now, my pet concept, how about dealing with the French? Whoa. Was that tough? It was really difficult. And we were part of the problem. We went to Paris, and I think most of you know, the Parisians, the French, own that theme park. Disney does not own it. It's the French and Prince Aoud own that theme park. We went with the attitude of saying, let's make it a Euro theme park, even though it's in France. The French didn't like that too much, so we said, well, tough, then we're not coming. We'll come. But later we got smart and changed the name to Disneyland Paris. Because our attitude was, well, they'll come to our theme park, then they'll go to Paris. Well, that's not what happens. People go to Paris, and then maybe they'll go to your theme park. So we had to change that. It was very difficult for me in doing live entertainment in Paris. Historically, the kind of shows that we did at Disney were not successful in Paris. Except for Les Mis, no Broadway show was ever successful in Paris. So if you took a Broadway show from Broadway and went to Paris, nobody would go to it. So we had to break through that. Most of the people I hired came from the opera, or the ballet, or the arts and crafts people. We had to teach them how to build floats the way we wanted them. It was a very difficult thing to do. And it's not because the talent wasn't there, but there was an attitudinal problem that we always had to deal with. And to be honest, a work ethic problem. Everybody was always on vacation. Became a problem. The other thing, there were strikes every other day. I was at La Bourse when we announced the stock price, and I got egged, ruined my suit. Somebody threw tomatoes at me. I thought, wait a minute. They're supposed to be welcoming us here, and they're throwing eggs at us. So we had to overcome that. We had to hire people that worked for us who understood where we were coming from. But we also had to learn how they felt about it. So it's an educational point. I'm missing some as far as some of the other questions, but I do want to mention one thing. Don't wait too long before you decide to do what you do. Because I know of 3 other projects in South Africa that are already started. And I've been involved in one of them. And the only thing holding it up right now is political, not financial, not permits, not anything other than the political aspect of getting it through. So my advice to you is don't wait too long. If you really want to do what you're talking about, and I don't think it's a major theme park, to be honest. I don't think that is. But if it's a themed experience, that's what I think it is, with a collective thing, because that will provide jobs. It'll make it easier to market, all those kind of things. Even with that, don't wait too long, because it might pass you by, because the world is very interested in this area here. I'm on a film company board that does all its animation out of Cape Town, and it's an American company. All the animation's done in Cape Town, and it's fantastic animation. So just don't wait too long in regard to that. And I'm sorry if I missed the other questions, but I didn't quite understand all of it.
Ron, I think you answered a lot more than just the questions asked. That was really valuable. Sally?
I think I should... I'm not sure where to start on the
Sally,
question about...
Can I suggest, don't be intimidated. You've got Ron and me next to you.
No, I'm not
Nobody's got
intimidated.
eggs. This is easy.
It's just that in my culture, it's even taboo to call it as pornography. Oh, God. Anyway, what I can say to you is that we've got an organization called ICASA. They are responsible for issuing of licenses, whether for radio, television, or online broadcasting. There are laws of the country that govern as to whether such a license can be issued or not. You can reference it to the Broadcasting Act of South Africa, the Electronic Communications Act. And the one thing that you need to be aware is that as a public broadcaster, we are not responsible for issuing licenses. And because we need to, one of our other mandate, which is also a critical mandate, is to develop the broadcasting industry. We are many a times a teaching ground, because had the country not decided to issue further licenses, we would not have had your DSTV or multi-choice. We would not have had your ETV or the current broadcaster that has applied for such content, which is Top TV. So you need to be rest assured that the type of content that we want to put on air, as much as we want to remain competitive, we also, as I indicated earlier, our public mandate is to educate, inform, and entertain. And we know that accessibility to any of our programming happens even to individuals that are still very young. So we have a responsibility to ensure that we don't broadcast something that would make our viewers uncomfortable. But in the event that you are unhappy with any of the content on any of the broadcasters, whether radio or television, you can contact the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. It's like the Advertising Standard Authority, wherein even when you advertise or a competitor says something negative about your product, you can complain there. Such programs can be taken off air in the event that you are unhappy about them. I'm not sure about the American content. We want to remain competitive globally. So we are a global citizen as a country. And therefore, as a public broadcaster, we are not going to only show programs that are short in South Africa or about South Africans, but we have a broadcasting mandate to ensure that we at least on our 3 platforms currently broadcast in all 11 languages and give the necessary information through our news, through our music, which is reflective of the South African background. The opportunities there, if I were to move to the next question, is that as a province and as a municipality, the opportunities in you applying for a license, whether for a community television station, is that you then get to develop your arts and culture, in that it would be nothing about us without us. It gives an opportunity to tell the stories of Mpumalanga or Mbombela from your own platforms, directed by your own individuals. It also will create employment. You would then have your television station, a 24-hour run television station that would broadcast something that is happening in Nkomazi. You'll have your newsreaders. So in actual fact, you would be developing this industry beyond what the public broadcaster can do or what other broadcasters can do. And in terms of getting programming within probably areas like the park itself, you can use the advertiser-funded programs, where if you get sponsorship, you can create your own content which you can sell to anyone in the world. It does not have to remain within the spheres of the province or of the country. You can even take it internationally. You can partner with the national broadcaster, as I said, that in terms of developing community television or radio stations, we are even mandated to give equipment. We are even mandated to give studios and funding. There is an organization called the MDDA, which is also a state-owned entity that anyone, whether it's through magazine publishing, book publishing, radio formulation, or television station formulation, they are obliged to ensure that such funding and training is given. There is an organization called NEMISA, which also gives the necessary training. The SABC turned 75 years last year. And as the broadcasting industry is growing, ICASA has run out of frequencies to issue. Hence, we are now obliged as a country to move into digital. So as a public broadcaster, we would now have 18 television stations, and you can access your radio programming through your television set. So you could actually be sitting here and have access to an international radio program without having to either log on to the internet, but you can do that whilst you are at home watching television. So you can actually also advertise as a province to other provinces. If you want to target a market somewhere in the Western Cape, Eastern Cape, in the Karoo, you could do that, and show where you would know that you will have the necessary eyes and the necessary ears to listen to what you have to say. Thank you.
Sully, thank you very much. Before we close, Ron, any further comment? Not? Sully, anything further?
Just say thank you very much. Your kind hospitality. Good luck in the future.
Thank you. It's now tea time. You've been very well behaved. I appreciate that. We'll see what the entertainment we have just after tea. It's certainly going to be lovely to see you. We'll start again promptly at 15:15. Thank you.